Hello everyone. Have you ever wondered what would you do if you receive money at free of cost? You may spend it or save it for the future. Let's discuss about the money provided by the government at free of cost, which is in fact helicopter money. Helicopter money. This term may remind most of us the scene of the famous series Money Heist, where the heister drops huge amount of money from the helicopter and public rush to collect the money. I think many of us are familiar with the series as it has become one of the best series in the world. The main concept of helicopter money is likewise, that is to provide money to the public at free of cost. So, what is helicopter money in real? Helicopter money is actually the term used for printing huge amounts of new money and distributing among the public when the economy is in liquidity trap. That is the situation when the interest rates fall near to zero and economy remains in recession. In essence, the central bank of a country will inject huge sums into the economy. It is an unconventional monetary policy, the policy which is used when there is possibility of occurrence of deflation or when it has occurred. You may relate this with the current pandemic situation. Do you know who first discovered the name helicopter money? Well, it was Milton Friedman. Milton Friedman first coined the term helicopter money in 1969 when he wrote a concept of dropping money from a helicopter to illustrate the effects of monetary expansion. The concept was then revived by many economists including Ben Bernanke as a monetary policy proposal later on to prevent situations like deflation. You may be thinking, why would government distribute money at free of cost? Let's discuss something about it. When we look at the current situation, the global economy is being negatively affected by the growing pandemic situations created by the global coronavirus. There is a fear of recession ahead. The factories and industries are closed down. We all are locked down inside our home. During deflationary periods, when the cost of things go down instead of up, people and companies hoard money instead of spending it. They don't want to spend money at present as same thing will be obtained at lower price later on. Lower demand for goods and services leads to a further reduction in price and businesses going insolvent. Moreover, the level of unemployment is being increasing day by day. So what would happen when these economic activities are disrupted? Well, this will directly impact the level of consumer spending. And why is consumer spending so important? Because the consumer spending contributes about 58% of the total global GDP. So, the main aim of helicopter money is to boost consumer spending and increase inflation by directly increasing the money supply. If a country faces slow or no growth, it could consider a helicopter drop. Are you all eager to know how helicopter money works? Well, then let's go for it. The intended purpose of helicopter money is to stimulate the struggling economy by transferring money directly into citizens' bank accounts. People could use the money to spend freely in the economy with no conditions attached. This would result in some increase in aggregate demand, which would produce some increase in output and some increase in prices. Thus, it would increase consumer spending. Now, the question is the helicopter money being practically used anywhere in the world? And the answer is yes. Let us look at some examples. One real life example is Japan, which distributed $6 billion worth of shopping vouchers to 31 million people during brutal recession in 1999. This program required the recipient to use coupons locally within 6 months. It had become moderate success in the country with the government even rolling out similar programs 10 years later. Similarly, Hong Kong's government announced its plan to give Hong Kong dollar 10,000 to every permanent resident in February 2020. Recently in March, the policymakers of US approved the coronavirus stimulus package which make available US dollar 1200 to the adult individuals, dollar 500 to the child and dollar 600 to unemployed individuals. Likewise, Helicopter money can be provided in the form of tax rebates for investment in worthy projects, finance infrastructure projects, and many more. Helicopter money is also viewed as an alternative to quantitative easing. Now, what is quantitative easing? It's also a monetary policy whereby a central bank buys government bonds or other financial assets in order to inject money into the economy to expand economic activity. It is usually used when inflation is very low or negative and standard expansionary monetary policy has become ineffective. So what is difference between helicopter money and quantitative easing? Quantitative easing is meant to support the banking system and to reduce interest rates. Payments are typically to financial institutions and not directly to the members of the public. Like all expansionary monetary policies in general, quantitative easing and helicopter money involve money creation by central banks to expand the money supply. However, the effect on the central bank's balance sheet of helicopter money is different than with quantitative easing. Under quantitative easing, central banks create reserves by purchasing bonds or other financial assets, conducting an asset swap. The swap is reversible. By contrast, with the helicopter money, central banks give away the money created without increasing assets on the balance sheet. Marginally, in quantitative easing, the bank buys bonds from the government, money that the government will have to repay, but the helicopter money does not necessarily have to be repaid. Now, you all may be wondering, if more and more money is provided by government at free of cost, doesn't it increase inflation to high level? Obviously, yes. Now let's discuss some of the criticisms of helicopter money. The first one is obviously the hyperinflation. The central bank sets its interest rates to reach the target of economic growth. However, in case of helicopter money, the central bank cannot use interest rates to recover any cost because the money is not linked to a borrowed asset. Instead, the money is given directly to the public. Thus, it can result in hyperinflation as consumer demand may increase drastically in the economy while supplies may find difficult to handle the demand. The next one is no spending by public. Helicopter money is non-reversible in nature. It means that money will remain permanently in the system. There is no assurance that public will actually spend the money which is received at free of cost. They may be involved in paying down their debt or may save the money for future use. This tendency to save rather than spend is a behavioral issue not easily affected by monetary or fiscal policy. Moreover, when they get money for the first time, they may keep asking for another. Won't you? So the next one is currency devaluation. One of the main risks associated with helicopter money is that it could lead to a significant devaluation of the currency on the foreign exchange market. As more money is printed and supply increases, the value of the domestic currency could significantly diminish. The next one is threats in independence of central bank. According to some economists, the helicopter money is not monetary policy but it is a fiscal policy carried out with the cooperation of central bank. The central bank is involved in redistribution decisions that are fiscal in nature and therefore more properly belong under the control of the government. Thus, making fiscal decisions by central bank could lead to the conflict between the fiscal and monetary arms of government. This could eventually lead to the greater government control over the central bank and the possible end of its independence. So this policy could bounce on the central bank itself. So these are some criticisms made against helicopter money. Thus, helicopter money may be fruitful for the short term, but it may be harmful too in the long run if not effectively implemented. So, it can be concluded that if helicopter money were to be introduced, the central bank should carefully manage such policy with targets around growth and inflation along with taking care of its independency. This would ensure that if additional money printing started to push up inflation expectations, policymakers could clamp down quickly. Because of these risks, this type of policy should be implemented with extreme caution.